Hi, welcome back to the Truth Doctor Show. My name is Dr. Courtney. I'm a licensed therapist. For those of you who just saw this episode and this is your first introduction to my channel, we just got off of doing a complete breakdown of season 1 of The Last of Us, and that show had so many themes related to grief and loss and pain and trauma. And today we're starting a new show. Well, sort of starting a new show. And a lot of those similar themes are seen here. A while ago, I reacted to season 1, episode 1 of Fleabag, and we're finally picking the episodes back up again.
Do I have a massive asshole?
So I encourage you to go back and watch it if you haven't watched it yet. And I want to bring up 2 specific scenes that I think were the most important before we continue on with the series. The scene where she's standing in front of her father's house and she says,
I have a horrible feeling that I'm a greedy, perverted, selfish, apathetic, cynical, depraved, morally bankrupt woman who can't even call herself a feminist.
And her father's response is,
You get all that from your mother.
what we see here is a unique dynamic between daughter and father. What we know is that Fleabag's mother died after a long battle with cancer. Fleabag has a sister who has processed her entire life and upbringing far different than Fleabag has. And we can see that her father, right now, up to episode 1, has been perceived as someone who is closed off, pretty harsh, and unable to console Fleabag in the way that she may need in that exact moment. It also gives us a lot of insight into where Fleabag is at in terms of what she thinks about herself and what she's actually capable of. The second scene is the very last clip of episode 1, and she's talking to the driver about her grief and her pain and her loss, something that she hasn't really been able to do so far in the interactions that we saw in episode 1, including with her boyfriend.
I've really tried to be there for you through this. You can't say I haven't tried.
When they get into a fight over her inability to be emotionally close.
And please don't contact me or turn up at my house drunk in your underwear. It won't work this time.
It will.
She describes it as though it's the situation that she was detached from, and sort of also talks about it in a lighthearted way, as though it's something that can be jokingly spoken about.
It's kind of a funny story, actually.
When we know that this is obviously something that's significantly weighing her down, as she talked about that in episode 1.
I opened the cafe with my friend Boo.
Cute name.
Yeah. Yeah, she's dead now. She accidentally killed herself. It wasn't her intention, but it wasn't a total accident.
Without further ado, let's get into our new series, Fleabag Season 1, Episode 2. Oh, this is horrible.
I think my period's coming. Can I come in?
Why didn't you text?
I just thought I'd pop by.
Tell the truth.
I need to speak to Martin.
Me too.
Gangbangs, Asian. I'd put a tenner on it.
Finished. Nice top.
Ugh, thanks. Do you deal in sculptures as well as paintings and papier-mâché?
In the last episode, we saw the dynamic between Fleabag and her sister.
Oh, I mean, you really shouldn't wear such cheap materials. They don't let your fanny breathe.
And that they were very similar and yet very different at the same time. Their responses to what they have faced in their life leads them to have very different, what appears to be attachment styles, and very different ways of going about communication and sort of saying things without actually saying them. And we see a lot of that here. When her sister's standing at the doorway and basically saying, why didn't you text and tell me the truth? It's clear here that Fleabag's sister knows that Fleabag is the type of person who shows up when she needs something. Fleabag is tight on money. She, in the first episode, went to a bank manager and tried to get a loan. It did not go well. And what she ended up doing was actually stealing this statuette from her godmother when she went to go visit her father. And now it looks like she's reaching out to Martin to see if Martin can put a price on this so she can make some cash.
What a pair.
I know, right?
If I sell it, I take 10%. Deal?
Deal. Don't tell Claire, please.
For what?
Or I'll tell her you were watching Gangbangs.
Oh, so he was.
Please don't do that again.
Oh, again.
Ugh.
He wasn't.
Disappointing.
So why would that be disappointing? First, he says, please don't do that again, meaning that she knows that this is some aspect of him, or at least was some aspect of him in the past. And including the way that he talks about this statue, he definitely seems to have a certain perspective on women.
You got nothing on me, princess.
And that will probably come out more in the show. Fleabag says it's disappointing that he wasn't watching gangbang porn. And part of that could be because if he was doing that, then that would be insight for her to know that she's not alone when it comes to what she actually thinks about herself. One of the words that she uses to describe herself when she's having this breakdown moment in front of her father in the last episode.
I have a horrible feeling that I'm a greedy, perverted, selfish.
Technically has to do with sexual impulsivity, which is what she's accusing Martin of in this moment. We like to see ourselves out in the world so that we know that we're not alone, and it also to a degree may justify behaviors that we are not too proud of if we're not the only ones doing them.
Patching's up with Harry?
Yeah, we're engaged.
God, what?
No, we're not engaged. No, he's back at the flat packing up all his stuff again.
He moved all of his stuff out?
A few times, he's even cleaned the whole flat. I've considered timing a breakup for when the flat needs a bit of a going over. But he always leaves him. I'm not obsessed with sex. I just can't stop thinking about it. The performance of it. Not so much the feeling of it.
There's a lot that's being spoken about already when it comes to the idea of women in this show, Fleabag. We have seen that the bank manager in episode 1 is dealing with some sexual harassment case, and he takes a hard line, pushing Fleabag out of the bank when she accidentally lifts up her top. We see that Martin talks about this statuette. There seems to be this potentially degradation of the woman species. We see the way her ex describes her not being like other women or like other girls.
You're not like other girls. You can keep up.
And then we see the way that Fleabag talks about what it feels like to be wanted by someone else.
The moment you realize someone wants your body.
And she's someone who appears to be sexually promiscuous, which is fine. However, when we are engaging in heightened sexual activity because we feel intense appreciation when we are wanted, it can be important to take a look at, are we trying to fill some space of needing to be wanted in a way that isn't actually going to fulfill us and make us start to heal? If we need attention or connection or touch, there are so many ways to get that type of experience. And in reality, oftentimes we turn to sex, whether that is compulsively, whether that is impulsively, or whether that is out of desperation for the sheer need of needing to feel wanted when you might not even feel like you want yourself.
Yeah, you check me out,
Oh
chub
my
chub, because it's never gonna happen. Oh, God, he can't believe how attractive I am.
Walk of shame.
Oh. Okay, for those of you who have not seen Fleabag and maybe didn't go and watch episode 1, that was a flashback to Fleabag's best friend Boo, who recently died of suicide.
I opened the cafe with my friend Boo.
Cute name.
Yeah. Yeah, she's dead now. She accidentally killed herself.
So keep that in mind. Fleabag here is staying very surface level. She is placing her own mind onto the mind of this passerby man who is just walking on the same sidewalk as her. She perceives him as someone who wants to sleep with her, finds her massively attractive, when in turn he ends up actually saying walk of shame. She's surprised by that, but what's happening here is her mental state is defense mechanism, defense mechanism, defense mechanism. It's refusing to accept your own reality, and so you have to make that your reality in essence everywhere so that it becomes the ultimate truth. Now, this is the bakery that she used to own with her best friend that she was trying to get the loan for.
Stop my...
Where do I recognize her? Is she famous?
Boo's death hit the papers. The next man who walks in here is getting ridden to death. Dad!
Hi.
Not ideal.
We,
Yeah?
I know that we... don't have much of a chance to... Did you take the sculpture?
Oh.
Did you, take the sculpture?
That's an interesting dynamic between Fleabag and her father. This is only the second time that they've shown him in the show. You can see the desperation for connection as her father is stumbling over his words, trying to say what he's trying to say. You know, he says very briefly, you know, we didn't get a chance to. And that's where she becomes this person that's showing this level of desire for the words that he might be saying, like, we didn't get a chance to connect. He does get back to that towards the end by saying, are you happy? Are you healthy?
Are you happy? Are you healthy?
But this is as he's leaving. And I think one of the main issues is that he knows that she's lying. He says, okay, you said no, and so now I can leave. And what's sad is that there's two things coming up for me. One is, would her father have come by the store to just check on her and say we didn't really have time to connect if she hadn't stolen the statue? And the second thing is, she gets in her own way so often. If there was a potential for them to build a relationship and really talk to each other in the way that daughters need fathers to talk to them and fathers need daughters to talk to them at times, things could be really different. But she self-sabotages by engaging in actions that actually make the people who want to get close to her move farther away. And we do this a lot with defense mechanisms. We are so afraid of getting hurt again in some way that we would rather set ourselves up to be hurt in another way because we think it'd be less painful, or we don't even notice that we're doing it.
Hey.
Hi.
Listen, you around later?
Yes, fucking yes, please. Yes, yes.
Cool.
Oh, shit. Oh.
That is not hygienic.
Sorry.
Oh my God, did you get me a what? What is this?
I
What is?
I don't know. Something to love?
I don't feel anything about guinea pigs. They're pointless. But Boo took Hillary very seriously as a gift, and soon everything became guinea pig related.
Fleabag is living in grief. And what I mean by Fleabag living in grief is literally and figuratively. She is running this bakery that she used to run with her best friend Boo, surrounded by memories of Boo. And in every moment where Boo comes up, she's either already intoxicated, wants to get intoxicated, or completely avoids the conversation altogether, which are very common responses to actually experiencing grief and loss, especially grief that seems to be complicated and grief that seems to be, you know, not too far behind. I don't know exactly how long it's been, but with somebody coming into the bakery and saying, she looks familiar, to me implies that it didn't happen so long ago that this person was able to actually remember what Boo looked like from the papers. Now, she is hiding this grief, and a lot of us hide a lot of our emotions and a lot of our own inner experiences and outer perceptions. We lie to hide ourselves for one reason or another, and we can often lie to ourselves when it comes to just how much emotion we're experiencing. And we can see that Fleabag is having an extremely difficult time processing this grief, and now she has a drink in her hand.
All he wants is to get you in the bath and ask questions like,
What are you afraid of?
I guess, losing the currency of youth.
Do you ever feel lonely?
Yeah,
Wow,
of course.
she answered.
Do you?
Never.
Oh,
Do you want some pineapple?
this show.
Yeah.
Mustn't call.
And she calls him. For a moment, it seemed like they were connecting on a deeper level. She opened up and said that she feels lonely. But in order for Fleabag, and really in order for anybody to truly have an open, intimate, emotional conversation, you at the very least need to have good insight into where each person in the conversation is at that time emotionally and their willingness to open up. When it comes to like the therapeutic relationship, for example, we start to gain insight into you as a client. And because we're not forming a really intense relationship where I can rely on you and you can rely on me, that insight isn't necessarily needed from client to a provider such as myself. And self-disclosure can lead to building rapport in really important and excellent ways. But it is a one-sided relationship because you're coming to us for something that we're skilled in, that we're experienced in, that we're educated in, and that we can provide you to make your life better. When it comes to intimate relationships and friendships where it's a two-way street and you're both relying on one another, the type of relationship that we see here between this man and Fleabag isn't one that would actually allow Fleabag to process what she needs to process emotionally. Now, if he was in a place, if this was the type of man or partner for Fleabag that wouldn't respond when Fleabag says that she feels lonely all the time with, I never feel lonely, and then just drop it and ask if she wants pineapples, then it could have been a really great relationship. But we can see that in his perspective, the outcome of this relationship is sort of experiential. It's these moments that they have together that can get deep at times, but also stay surface level and have one goal in mind. And that goal in mind is to connect on an intimate level as it relates sexually versus just emotional intimacy. It's important to recognize that that's what type of relationship this is. And although this may fulfill a lot of areas for Fleabag in the moment, long term, it's not going to be the solution that she's looking for. And that's why she goes back to her ex Harry, because at least she can have some sort of emotional connection with him, even though for her, he's far too emotional and doesn't connect with her in other areas.
I was in the interval
Oh, cool.
of Cats,
Okay.
the musical.
Was it good?
Oh, really good, actually.
Who were you with?
Work friend. A girl.
I found this.
This time, I'm not just going to come running back. I really just need some time away from...
Based on genetics, environment, and the experiences that we have in our life, we can have a personality, we can have traits that just lead us to be more impulsive, that lead us to have more difficulty processing our emotions, that can make us more sensitive. And also, traumatic experiences and carrying really heavy emotions in any given moment as a result of difficult experiences can cause us to experience the same exact symptoms. We don't know much about Fleabag thus far up to episode 2, but what we do know is that she thinks very specifically about herself in terms of what she said standing in front of her father's house. And we don't know if that's been sustained over the course of her life or if this is a recent result of her grief compounding with not only the loss of her mother, but now the loss of her best friend as well. When she feels like she isn't being seen by the man in the bathtub, she immediately gets these negative feelings and she wants to push these feelings aside by calling her ex. Then she immediately goes and her hair is still wet from the bath and goes and needs to get that fulfillment as soon as possible. The thing is that also immediately when her ex is not fulfilling her sexually, but is seeing her, she still must get that sexual pleasure in that moment with complete disregard for her ex and his need for emotional connection as well. She is very much in a go, 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 survive, 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 numb, 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 only feel what I want to feel.
We should stop masturbating.
He's just trying to say, let's connect more. There's something in the way.
Also, I thought we should try and surprise each other once every day. Just a, sweet little something, just to keep it,
Are you getting this out of a book? You okay? You look stressed.
Well, I'm successful, so. Listen, I don't want to know anything about this surprise party, but if you could just have it in mind this Friday at 7:30, that'd be great.
Okay.
I mean, I've done it. It's done. It's this Friday at 7:30 at mine. How behind are you if it's money that you need?
I don't need money.
Shit.
Should I go and get us some wine?
Okay, we have to talk about that moment. And I have to say, like, it might seem unprofessional that I'm laughing in a situation like this, but I react to shows as they are written, as they are expressed, as they are acted out. And we were supposed to find that scene funny. And at the same time, it's really heartbreaking how much Fleabag doesn't see her boyfriend, doesn't appreciate his sensitivity and nurture that sensitivity, especially when that sensitivity is probably what leads him to be able to have such an emotional connection with Fleabag and actually be able to see her in a way that that man that she slept with in the bathtub couldn't. They really don't seem to be the most compatible people. That isn't to say that they can't be, but obviously in this given moment, there's a lot of disconnection between them. There's a lot of things that aren't said, and they really are on quite different levels when it comes to certain aspects of personality and of experience internally and externally. It can be easy to be disconnected from the sensitivities of the people around you, especially when you have such a guard up against being sensitive towards your own emotions as well. Oh.
Harry?
I had to go into the history on my computer to find something I'd seen on the H&M website this morning, and MILF, big butts, lesbian and public. Don't let me hate you. Loving you's painful enough.
Ooh.
Okay, sorry.
Do you want to be alone?
Oh.
Forever.
Oh. Okay. When Harry says, "Don't make me hate you, loving you is painful enough." Yes, it is a very beautiful thing that he said. And also it's really painful. You can see that he clearly loves Fleabag. And, you know, Fleabag knows so much about him that she probably does love him to a degree, but not in the same way. And certainly not on the same level. When he asks her,
Do you want to be alone?
she pauses. And I think that the reason that she pauses, or the way that I would interpret it, is because she doesn't want to be alone, but she knows that she doesn't want to be with him. Harry is someone in their relationship that deserves to know that she doesn't want to be with him long term, that there are pieces that he doesn't hold that she wants in a partner. And what's difficult is that Harry doesn't see that there are aspects of Fleabag that don't work for him in the relationship either. She isn't allowing him to break apart because that would be another person that she loses access to and that she can't use in moments where she wants or needs this level of emotional connection that she doesn't get with her other partners. Fleabag is someone who struggles to deal with her emotions, to deal with grief, to deal with loss, to deal with the repercussions of her actions, to hold back on impulsivity, to be open and honest, and to stand back when it comes to being able to manipulate the people around you because you understand them so well. It's clear that she's aware of what it is that she does and or is doing and doesn't actually have a positive outlook on it. She scares herself and she wants to change and be better, but she's obviously not there yet. I look forward to seeing what's going to happen in the next episodes. Please comment below. Was there anything that I missed in this episode? What would you like to see in terms of my analysis of this character? And what did you think of the episode so far? As always, I'm so glad that each and every one of you exists. See you next Thursday.